Welcome back to Four Wolves Takes, where your boy Artis Woods will give you 4 fresh Minnesota Timberwolves takes. What can you say, man? It's the playoffs. It's the Western Conference Finals. And stuff like this happens. That's what you can say. This stuff happens. And these are things that a team like the Timberwolves with a young and up-and-coming superstar like Anthony Edwards, a second-team all-defensive player like Jaden McDaniels, an all-star like Karl Anthony Towns, a six-man of the year like Naz Reid, and a defensive player of the year in Rudy Gobert. These are things that they have to go through as a unit. Got to go through this as a unit. Game 5 was embarrassing. Last time I came before you guys, the Wolves were down 2-0. I said it ain't over because I really believed it wasn't over. But I did have a hard time believing that they would win both games in Dallas. I did. I knew it would be tough. They won one, gave us hope, and then came home. And, man, I looked up. They were down 30, 40 points. Tough way to go out. And I'm going to get to that in a second. But I don't believe we should allow that game to mask how great this season was for the Timberwolves and the things that they accomplished. As individual players, as a team, it's hard to just come up here after that type of game and say it was a successful season. But it literally was a successful season. Just a very tough ending. In these takes, I'm going to get to that ending, but then I'm going to get to the bright spot. So let's get to that ending. Let's talk a bit about the series, and then let's go big picture because it is officially the offseason for the Wolves. The Mavs have advanced to the finals to play the Boston Celtics, and that's just the reality. It was fun, but that's just the reality, man. So let's get into these takes, man. Let's get right into what I saw in Game 5. Got to be honest about it. The Wolves seemed satisfied with avoiding a sweep. Take number 1. They seemed satisfied with avoiding a sweep. I got Coach Finch up here because this is the look he had. This is the look he had pretty much all series, it seemed like. Frustration, irritation, confusion maybe. Wondering what happened to the team that was so great defensively in the regular season and in the first few rounds of the playoffs. Like, what's going on, man? But to go out there, man, it's an elimination game. It's been a long season. You just came out of a 7-game series against the defending champs. They made you earn it. I'm sure it was taxing on the body, taxing on the mind. That's the team everybody had circled because they were the defending champions, the Denver Nuggets. So I'm sure to come out of that series with a W, to advance, I'm sure it took a lot out of them. And I'm sure going down 3-0 also took a lot out of them. Now, we're going to get to why they went down 3-0, but I'm sure it took a lot out of them. I'm also sure that avoiding a sweep took a lot out of them. I mean, we saw how that game ended. Freaking Luka, they're up, I think it was 5? Was it 6? I think they're up 6, and freaking Luka hits a 3-pointer, gets fouled. Like, what am I watching right now? But I say all that to say, I get that. I only get it to a certain extent because I'm not on the floor, obviously. But 40 points, man. Going down 30, 40 points, man. You could even reason with 20. You can reason with 20. You can reason with 20. You can reason with 15. You might even be able to reason with 25. But 30, 40, they were satisfied. They avoided the complete embarrassment of not getting a game. And then they relaxed. They came home, maybe thought the crowd was going to help carry them to a win. It's almost like they didn't expect Luka to come out like a madman. Like they didn't expect Kyrie and Luka to come out looking to take them out. It's like they didn't expect that almost, which was weird to me because it's like Luka statistically coming off of a playoff L averages like 32 a game, 32, 34 a game. Kyrie Irving is a playoff killer. When he's on, and he was on all series and had a rough night. Both of these guys didn't have the best shooting nights in game 4. So you knew, right? You knew that they would want to redeem themselves with a trip to the finals on the line. We knew that they want to prioritize rest. Luke had been banged up all playoffs. Kyrie Irving got this like the I forget what it's called, that black tape on his shoulder. Maybe got a little issue there. So you knew they try to get rid of y'all. And it seemed like the Wolves were just not prepared for that type of fight. Not prepared for the type of energy that the Mavs brought to the table. And what's frustrating to me, again, is that game was at the crib. How many games in the playoffs did they drop at the crib? I don't even want to put the number out there. I forgot because I don't want to remember. Like that, I'm thinking again, last time I was here, they were down 2-0. You got to win. I'm like, yo, they're going to get this to 6 because they can only lose with so many home games in a row. Like, they going to get a home game in here and win one, get this to 6, and it could get, man. Again, I looked up, they down 40. That's a lack of effort. That's a lack of intensity. That's a lack of paying attention to detail. It could be some exhaustion, but they seem satisfied is what I'm saying to my eye. And you saw it early, very early in my opinion. They just seemed satisfied. Anthony Edwards played well. Karl Anthony Towns played well, but it was just too little too late from, honestly, two guys who did not practically show up for half of the series. Anthony Edwards didn't play well game 1 or game 2. He played well in game 3, but Karl Anthony Towns still was MIA until game 4 and then played well. Like, yeah, man. They seemed satisfied. Nobody else showed up to the party with Karl Anthony Towns and Ant. And the frustrating part about that is we had a great Jaden game. We had a great Naz Reid game. We had some good Conley games. We had games where other guys stepped up, but the 2 stars, they kind of blew them games. Take number 2, man. Take number 2. The Wolves need another shot creator. This was made apparent to me and glaringly obvious to me in this series. I didn't have this on my mind in the regular season. I didn't have it on my mind in the first round. It started to creep into my mind in the Denver series once I started to see that the Nuggets were double teaming Anthony Edwards, and it's like they had no answer when the ball left his hands. You know, they did similar things in the Phoenix series, but he moved the ball, Anthony Edwards, and guys made shots. But the moment that they couldn't make shots in the Denver series and really in this Mavs series with Anthony Edwards getting the ball out of his hands because he's getting double teamed, it got ugly, and it got ugly quick. They need another guy that's going to come in and create shots for himself and others. You look at the finals right now. You got Kyrie, shot creator. Luka Doncic, shot creator on the same team. They create for themselves. They create for others. You look at the Celtics. They got a bunch. I mean, they got Drew Holiday. He can shot create. They got JT can shot create. Jaylen Brown can shot create. Porzingis, now he's not a guard, but he can also shot create. I guess you can kind of throw him in the same bucket with Karl Anthony Towns. Let me just stick to the perimeter players. Even Derek White at times can shot create. So I just think that the Wolves need another guy that can come in and say, look, if they loading up on Ant, you got to worry about me out here too on the perimeter. Jaden has his moments, but it's not necessarily consistent. And I don't know if I expect him to take that much of a massive leap as a shot creator going into this next season. Naz Reid is a great player, but as a shot creator, I don't know if he can be that guy to maybe take over, run an offense, allow Anthony Edwards to play a little off ball. I don't think he's that guy. Cat is not that guy, right? So, I'm calling the Cavs. Hey, Donovan Mitchell available? Darius Garland available? I'm calling the Hawks. Hey, Trae Young? My personal favorite, DeJounte Murray? I think he'd be the perfect piece. Oh, my gosh. I think he'd be young, athletic, can defend, can shoot the ball, very streaky shooter, can close. I think he'd be the perfect piece. But that's a conversation for another time when we get into maybe some more offseason talk. You know, Paul George's name has been thrown out there a little bit to people, not to the Wolves, but just in general in trade conversations. Jimmy Butler's as well. There's a lot of different guys being thrown out there. I'm just throwing out names right there right now so that y'all can kind of get a feel for the direction that I'm going in. I prefer a point guard that will allow Mike Conley to come off the bench next season because he's getting up there in age. He was ailing down the stretch of the playoffs. So I'd prefer a Darius Garland or a Trae Young or, a DeJounte Murray, a guy that can run the point. Anybody that could get Ant off the ball and still take over and do their thing while Ant can kind of, get money off ball, backdoor cut, get to his elbow, get to the right wing, left wing, do the little turnaround bank shot, whatever, you know what I mean? Let him get to his spots, which Anthony Edwards has to take time to learn this offseason, which I believe he will. His spots on the floor, which will make it easier on a young point guard. That's where you like the ball. Okay, you go there and we gonna get you, you know what I mean? I think that's what the Wolves need, man. They need another shot creator bad. Because anytime teams load up on Ant or anytime teams double team Ant, man, he get the ball out of his hands and it is chaos. It's chaos. I also think Anthony Edwards has to do a better job of attacking these double teams. But I've talked about that before. I won't dive into that again right now. On to take number 3. The Mavs are simply the better team, man. I can't even leave this picture of Luka up on the screen. I can't even do it, man. I could go on a rant for 3 days about how Luka is an amazing player, but he's one of the more frustrating players to watch. But I'm not going to do that out of respect for him and him going to the finals. Kudos to you. It was their time. From an experience standpoint, they were the better team. Their best players have been there, done that. Luka Doncic has been to a Western Conference Finals and taken his lumps already. He lost, if I'm not mistaken, to the Warriors in 5 games, right? So he's taken that Western Conference lump already. He's dealt with that. Kyrie Irving obviously is a champion and has lost in the finals before. So he's taken his lumps as well. He's 32, right? Like their best players have been through some things. They got some youthful players, but the guys that they rely on most, they've been there, done that. Whereas you can't say the same thing for the Wolves. Karl-Anthony Towns has never been to a conference finals. Same thing with Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Naz Reid. Like their best players hadn't done that. Mike Conley, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is the only one who's been to a conference finals, and he don't have the best luck in the conference finals. So there's the experience aspect of things, and you could tell the way they was able to maneuver the defense and just move things around and play the mental game with the Wolves, man. It showed that experience. The fact that they made sure they had their legs when it mattered most, whereas Anthony Edwards kind of didn't at times. They were more prepared for this moment because they had been here before, and Anthony Edwards hadn't. Anthony Edwards talked about conditioning after the game, and I believe him. He didn't look like he was there at times in this series. Conditioned like physically. Didn't look like he was there at times. Like he was gassed, whereas Luka and Kyrie had the most energy. So you got that going for you. On top of the fact, the bigs for the Mavs, man. The bigs for the Mavs, super athletic. Something I overlooked. I thought that the Wolves bigs will be able to do a better job defensively against those guys. But from PJ to Lively to Gafford, these guys, alley-oop. I mean, I thought it was the Clippers. I thought it was Clippers Lob City. I thought it was Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan with Chris Paul running point. That's what it felt like at times. Like, I didn't anticipate that. I thought Rudy would be able to disrupt that a little bit more. Cat, Nas, they did such a great job on Luke on Jokic, but I guess Jokic don't really live above the rim. So I just expected them to be better with that. And then going back to Luka and Kyrie for a hot second, man. Luka averaged 32 points a game in this series. He shot 43% from the tray. 43. Over a 5-game stretch, he shot 43% from 3 and 47% from the field. 32 points with 10 rebounds, I'm rounding up, and 8 assists. Kyrie Irving. Let's look at Kyrie. 38% from the tray over a 5-game stretch. 49% from the field over a 5-game stretch. He averaged 27 points a game. If they play like this effectively, this efficient, making shots no matter who's in their face, stepping back from half court, stepping back from the right, left hash, shooting from 40, 50 feet, first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth. Nobody beating them. They'll be the champs, which is why I say they were the better team. All of the experience, the bigs, and Luke and Kyrie. They play like this again, they're going to be champs. The Celtics are really great, and this is a take for another day. The Celtics are great, but if the Mavs play like that, nobody's beating them. So even on the Wolves' best day, to be honest with you, it'd have been tough beating them if they shooting the ball that's it was unreal. It was unreal. They both had 36 in game 5. It was unreal. It was tough to watch. Nobody beating those guys if they playing that well. Simple and plain. So I ended up walking away from the series thinking, and don't even get me started on Jason Kidd, who coached his butt off. You got great coaching. You got 2 players that can take over at any point and just dominate a basketball game. You got some decent defenders and some bigs that can just go up and get whatever off the rim, blocking shots, alley-oops. Mavs were the better team, had the experience. They had everything they needed. Last but not least, man, we got to get to some positive thoughts, man. Because this is only the beginning. It is. Like I said, man, Wolves fans, man, it was a tough ending to the season. I'd be lying if I said after they beat the Nuggets, I didn't think that I thought they would get to the finals, man. I did. I ain't gonna lie. I'll be straight up with y'all. I thought they was gonna get to the finals. I thought they matched up really well with Boston. I personally, man, I overlooked the Mavs. I did. I came out and said, man, whoever win this Nuggets and Wolves series, and I said it on multiple platforms, they're going to the championship. They will represent the Western Conference. And I was dead wrong. I got to hold that L. But at the end of the day, you have a superstar in Anthony Edwards. And ignore the Twitter trolls and everybody who has something negative to say about Ant. Because at the end of the day, the guys that they're comparing Ant to, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, all these different names, huge, big names, they all went through their lumps, man. They all went through their bumps and bruises. Could you imagine Twitter being around when Michael Jordan was getting swept out of the playoffs by Boston? Could you imagine Twitter being around when Michael Jordan was getting beat year after year after year against the bad boy Pistons? Could you imagine Twitter being around when Magic Johnson didn't have the greatest games? Like, come on now. All of these players, they go through things. Most of these great players don't win championships until they're 27, 28. Luka's now 25. He's in the finals. And if they do win a championship, it's a while before they go back. You know what I mean? So, ignore the trolls. You have a superstar in Anthony Edwards who's ascending, who will do nothing but get better and use this experience to fuel him going forward. You have a 6th man of the year and Naz Reid, who will be better this next year. He will be even better. He will ascend. I believe in Jaden McDaniels on both sides of the ball. Like I said, I still think you need a playmaker, shot creator, but I believe in Jaden McDaniels. I think he will improve. I think this playoffs, I think it gave him a boost, man. We saw some pretty solid playoff games from him, down the stretch. So I like what I've seen out of Jaden McDaniels. Karl Anthony Towns, I know a lot of people are speculating about his future right now, myself included. But if he's on this team this upcoming season, he's still an all-star who now just got that experience of going to the Western Conference Finals and now knows what it takes, right? You got a great head coach in Coach Finch. You have a really good team, a team that got you to the Final Four. Now you just need to do a couple things, make a couple adjustments to get over that hump. So this is just a start. These guys, most of these guys, the best players, Nas, Jaden, and these guys ain't even 25 yet. So I say that to say, tough ending to the season, but to get to the Western Conference Finals for the first time in 20 years is a huge milestone. It is something I'm not sure any of us expected. Let's be 100. Because I was one that wasn't sure about running this same team back after what happened last year. But they came into this season and I believe shocked the world by having a great regular season and getting this far. So you got to kind of take this with, hey, they lost to a team that it might just be their time, but the Wolves is right there. Make a couple moves. I think the Wolves for the future will be fine. I thank y'all for tuning in. This episode was a little longer, man. I had to get all of that out, man. But I thank y'all for tuning in to this week's episode of 4 Wolves Takes. I want to say on a personal note, I thank y'all I love y'all. I appreciate y'all's support. We started 4 Wolves Takes like I want to say mid-season and went through the playoffs now. And I appreciate y'all. I see all the comments. I see all the love. I see all the views. I, Artis Woods, appreciate y'all, man. Thank y'all for welcoming me in. And hopefully I can continue to deliver some great 4 Wolves Takes episodes, man. Until next time, y'all, it's been real. It's been a fun season. No reason to hold your head. Ignore the trolls. Enjoy the finals. And just know the Wolves will be there soon. They will be there soon, y'all. I will catch y'all on the next episode of 4 Wolves Takes. Until next time, man. Happy offseason.